This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. If you're a car company, what do you do when sales slow down? If you're like most automakers, you're probably going to cut prices. Maybe you offer more incentives, or lower the cost of destination charges, or make optional equipment standard, or offer lower interest rates on loans, or offer a better price on the customer's trade-in. Whatever you do, there's a lot of different ways to lower prices to get customers buying again. And Tesla definitely needs to get sales growing again in the United Kingdom. Last month, sales there plummeted 40% to less than 1,000 cars. And the Financial Times reports that Tesla is running out of room to store the cars that it has in inventory. So it's having a fire sale. It cut the cost of leasing almost in half. And we estimate that you can lease a Model Y for a little over $300 a month, or about 230 pounds. But better get them while they're hot. That deal will probably evaporate as soon as inventory hits a more manageable level. And Lucid is another automaker that wants to get more customers interested in its SUV, the Gravity. Even though the Trump administration is getting rid of the $7,500 federal rebate for buying or leasing an EV at the end of September, Lucid is going to offer a $7,500 credit for anyone who leases a Gravity until the end of the year. That means that money is going to come out of its own pocket. You know, we keep saying that 2025 is the year of the autonomous car. And last week, a Silicon Valley startup emerged out of stealth mode to announce that it's going to start selling Level 4 autonomous cars to retail customers. The company is called Tensor, and it claims to have the most powerful supercomputer in a car, with 10 GPUs and 144 CPUs from NVIDIA, Texas Instruments, NXP, and Renesas, and is capable of 8,000 TOPS or tera operations per second. The cars, which will reportedly be built by VinFast, are equipped with LiDAR, radar, sonar, and cameras. Tensor calls itself an agentic AI company, which basically refers to groups of AI bots or agents working together. Tensor says the cars will go on sale this year, but it has not announced a price yet. And a special shout out to Autoline viewer George Ricci, who brought this to our attention.
Developing today's vehicles, issues can happen in an instant. What good is knowing your problems without the data to solve them? Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure off-the-shelf solution, empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
You've probably heard of the Chinese battery maker CATL by now. It's the biggest in the world. But have you heard of CALB, or how about FinDreams? They're actually the next two biggest battery makers. Our colleagues at Gasgoo put together a list of the top EV battery makers in China, and since we like to track what's going on with EVs, we really appreciate this list. And Gasgoo says the top 5 battery makers control 84% of the Chinese market, and it notes that more automakers are vertically integrating battery pack assembly into their operations. More than half of all pack production is now done in-house. And oh, by the way, FinDreams? That's the name that BYD uses for its battery company. A new study found that there's a surprising downside to EV fast chargers. They stir up air pollution. Researchers at the University of California found that the average concentration of fine particulate matter at EV charging sites was slightly higher than at gas stations, and half had daily fine particulate matter emissions that exceeded the World Health Organization's guidelines. The researchers speculate that the fans used to keep the charging units cool are kicking up the particles, which come from tires, brakes, and dust. The study's authors say that charging companies can reduce the pollution by using filters and should avoid placing chargers near places like schools and residential areas. But here's the thing though, those fine particulates are everywhere. When the wind blows, when cars drive down the road, they stir it up too. So it's not just EV charging stations. GM's design centers turned out a couple more of those Corvette hypercar concepts. These are called the CX and CX.R Vision Gran Turismo and are the work of the Corvette Performance Studio in Warren, Michigan. The CX is a road-legal all-electric hypercar with 4 electric motors, one at each wheel, that combine for over 2,000 horsepower. And instead of doors, the entire hood and canopy lift up into the front of the vehicle. The CX.R, on the other hand, is a track car with a 900 horsepower 2-liter V8 that revs to 15,000 RPM, which is then paired to an 8-speed DCT and 3 electric motors. The entire setup also produces an estimated 2,000 horsepower. And while Chevy has no intention to produce any of these Corvette hypercar concepts, they will be inspiration for the sports car's future design language. And speaking of hypercars, Ford is coming out with the final version of this generation of Ford GT, and it looks like it's aimed right at the father of that CX.R concept, the Corvette ZR1X. The Ford GT Mark IV has a completely new body, powertrain, and suspension compared to the previous versions. It's almost identical to the GT3 race car that won Le Mans in 2016. But the 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6 makes more power at 820 plus horsepower, and it has a more advanced clutch and paddle shifter. With the Corvette ZR1X stealing the Nürburgring lap record from the Mustang GTD, we can only assume the GT Mark IV is going to be trying to steal that record right back. While the Corvette is all-wheel drive and has 1,250 horsepower, the GT Mark IV is 1,300 pounds lighter and actually has a very similar power-to-weight ratio as the Corvette. So it could be a very close race. The only real major difference is the price. The Corvette that set that Nürburgring record probably costs about $220,000. The Ford GT Mark IV has a price tag of $1.7 million. It wasn't long ago we reported that Lexus won't produce any new V8 powered vehicles after the end of next year. But along with that news, we also reported that Lexus was developing an all-new, all-electric supercar concept that's inspired by the LFA. And we think we're getting our first look at that car. The brand debuted the Lexus Sport concept at the Quail this weekend, which is an iconic motorsport gathering in California. However, it didn't reveal any details about the concept, only to say that it's a vision for a next-gen sports car. But from the previous reports, we know that Toyota chairman Akio Toyoda, who's a big sports car fan, is overseeing development, that it's targeting a low 2-second 0 to 60 time and over 400 miles of range, possibly from solid-state batteries. Okay, it's time to go over the results from our latest poll. We wanted to know what you think of Ford's new EV platform and the new production process to build those EVs. 41% of you said it's a bold new effort that will work. 7% of you think Ford is crazy to put so much effort into EVs. 47% believe it won't fail, but it won't be a roaring success either. And 6% said none of the above. And we got a lot of great feedback. Outsider Reviews had this to say: Ford needs to keep innovating if they want to stay relevant 10 years from now. This is a good move. Craig to Webb had this comment: hopefully for them, this will be quite successful. They need breakthroughs to remain competitive worldwide. EVs are definitely the future, and at the moment, China has a huge lead. James Stevenson said, quote, "It's a bold new effort that will fail, and Ford is crazy to put this much money into it. Just copy Tesla's proven EV design approach instead. And a lot of you are skeptical that Ford can deliver on that $30,000 price tag. BRCC8208 says, didn't Ford originally announce that the small Maverick pickup would be under $20K? Where did that idea go? It went out the window. And thanks for participating and for sharing your feedback. We really enjoy your comments. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. CSP, the composites solution partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
Making a life full of memories, one road trip at a time. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Weather Peak tires with a 70,000-mile limited warranty.